Much of the mid-state is under a flood warning tonight following a steady downpour of rain overnight and into the day. Dozens of roads are closed and a lot of Friday night football games canceled. Good evening, I'm Valerie Pritchett.
And I'm Alicia Richards in for Flora Pastorero tonight. We have crews covering these floodwaters all over the mid-state. But first, let's check in with Eric. We need our first look at the forecast, rain totals. Eric.
This is going to be the biggest rain event so far this year and more than likely for the year. We're not going to attach a name onto it. This isn't remnants from a tropical system. This isn't a hurricane or something that's breaking down. This is just a coastal storm that dumped it right across the mid-state. Maryland, areas in Jersey didn't see near the amounts of what we had. So we have the highest amounts of this system, and here are the top four. Camp Hill, we've also have Dillsburg Elementary School, Messiah College, and Good Hope Middle School, Mechanicsburg, anywhere from 7 to almost 9 inches of rainfall. That continues there at Red Lion, Kissel Hill, Hanover, and Lancaster. 6 to 7 inches, and it just continues here. We've got Wildwood Park in Harrisburg, Gettysburg Middle School, St. Patrick's School in Carlisle, and Bermudian Springs Middle School, all over 5 inches of rainfall. So obviously you can see why we are dealing with flood warnings, and we have rain. I'm sure the big question now is, when is this going to stop? We have one line, and you can see some heavier bands indicated in yellow through Cumberland County, Southern Perry, also now in northwestern Lancaster and Lebanon counties. That's going to continue here throughout this evening before it tapers to drizzle overnight tonight. So we're going to continue with those flood warnings for small streams, urban areas, and street flooding. We have a lot more to talk about. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Val, Alicia.
Thank you, Eric. Some incredible rain totals. Well, as you heard, the rain's hitting all areas of the mid-state pretty hard.
In Hershey, it was easier to swim at the country club than swing a golf club. The course is practically a lake.
Oh, my goodness. It wasn't the only area in the sweetest place on earth that was underwater. Our Mark Hall begins our live team coverage from Derry Township. Mark.
Well, Val and Alicia, it has not been a sweet day, but we had a break in the rain about 30 minutes ago, but it's coming down pretty good right now. Let's show you one of the problem areas in the region. This is Spring Creek, and it's caused a lot of activity around here, and the constant rain has created some tense moments for people who have been through this before. Runoff water turned Sunset Drive in Derry Township into a fast-moving stream that put neighbors in a tough situation. Volunteers from the Milton Hershey School stopped by to offer a ride out of the area. The man seen here walking his dogs declined the offer, saying the worst was last night and he plans on riding it out unless the township calls for a mandatory evacuation. Some who live on higher ground were a little surprised.
I would get out because they're not only risking their lives but the lives of the people that have to go in, because what was it, 2 years ago, yes, the boat capsized and the people went in the water.
Take a look at the swollen Spring Creek that runs along Hershey Park in Zoo America. Zoo officials developed an action plan after several animals were lost during the flood 2 years ago. Zoo employees have worked around the clock, moving them to safer locations.
It was a collaborative effort because the safety of our animals was, of course, on our minds throughout the night and into the early morning.
Well, you can see the water is moving pretty good there on Spring Creek, and zoo officials will continue to monitor the water levels here. Working for you live in Derry Township, Dauphin County, Mark Hall, ABC 27 News. We'll send it back to you.
Wow, Mark, that's part of the roller coaster behind
crazy.
You there, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, Alicia, you know, let me just show you one more time. Again, the rain has been constant all day long. I mentioned we had a break about a half hour ago, and it has started back, and Eric said that we're going to continue to see water or rainfall throughout the rest of the evening. So you can expect that the water flow here in Spring Creek will continue to move pretty strong as well. We'll send it back to you.
It's good to see the animals are safe this time around as well. Thank you, Mark. Well, Hershey wasn't the only place facing flood problems.
A second round of evacuations was forced to take place in York County after residents returned to try to ride out these rising waters. Alex Hoff reports.
Those who live in this mobile home community off of 74 were told to evacuate their homes last night. They live on the Conewago Creek, so this is a situation that they had dealt with before. Or so they thought.
The water's cold and wet, and I'm not trying to go through a bunch of clothes, and this is my last pair of dry shoes.
And so where are you going right now?
Over to the trailers across the street.
To an outsider, this looks devastating. But residents on Pine Road have seen marooned mobile homes before.
This happens every year.
They've learned to fish out items pushed downstream.
Dumpster diving in an ocean.
And to take official orders with a grain of salt.
I'm going to wait it out, see what happens.
Hopefully this moves off.
I mean, if you know what you're doing, you're fine.
And that all might work
It got way deeper and stronger.
until you realize that you're not fine.
We were starting to get more stuff, and then when I looked out and seen it was up to the bottom step, I'm like, dude, we gotta go.
Well, we started packing up our stuff right away, you know, a couple of pairs of clothes for the kids and stuff that, you know, just in case the trailer goes, you know.
Opal was one of several residents who left when she was supposed to. This mother of two spent the night in a car.
Did they sleep in the car too?
Yeah, they had to. I mean, we didn't know where else to go.
In less than 2 hours, what was once an understatement was now underwater, and the mood had completely changed.
It never got this high.
There were those who didn't want to be forced out and others who didn't have anywhere to go. But the flooding that some in this community brushed off as typical ended up being predictable after all.
They always end up pulling people out with a boat because they wait till the last minute.
All of those houses on the lower end of the community are now empty. For those without a place to go, they were taken by school bus to seek shelter at the township building. Working for you in York County, Alex Hoff, ABC 27 News.
Boy, we wish those people the best. Yes. So, another rainstorm, another sinkhole in Palmyra.
Yeah, it's a familiar story, but no less frightening for the residents and neighbors. Our Dennis Owens was at the scene, and he joins us now with this story. Dennis.
Well, ladies, neighbors say it sounded like a bomb going off when the sinkhole opened up underneath the 300 block of East Cherry Street this morning. Take a look. There's toppled chimneys, several huge craters in the ground. 8 houses, 4 of them actually apartments, were rocked and rolled from their foundations, and those homes have been evacuated. Residents told me Palmyra Borough just repaved the street from a previous sinkhole. Neighbors wonder if their houses will be next.
It's disconcerting, it's scary. Property values are plummeting here, and people that don't have sinkhole insurance across the street, they're up a creek without anything to do. So they have no recourse. So
the Red Cross has a disaster volunteer at Borough Hall who is helping 3 families tonight. Coming up at 6, much more on the latest Palmyra sinkhole. We'll talk to a woman forced out of her home. Ladies, back to you.
Thank you, Dennis. And of course, for those who travel around the Farm Show complex, this is no surprise. One of the first places to flood this morning, McLean Cameron Streets in Harrisburg.
You bet. The intersection was closed for several hours after a number of people in their cars had to be rescued when fast rising waters took over the area near the Farm Show complex. Our Stephen Fisher joins us now live with the latest. Stephen.
That's right, and the water level was about knee-deep in some areas through parts of today. Now, there were a few brave drivers who attempted to go through that high water, but they actually ended up getting stuck. Let's take a look at some of that video that we took from earlier today. Now, an SUV owner returned to his vehicle to get some of his personal items that he had left. He also told us he never thought that he would get stuck, but now his SUV has sustained quite a bit of damage. Now, over on Cameron Street, conditions were not any better. This is cell phone video from one of our viewers. Crews had to rescue people from 2 cars using a boat. Now, people who live in that area tell us they are used to that type of flooding on occasion, and one man says he's not letting the rain keep him from being productive.
Look, this is God's country. Is rain coming out the sky, is replenishing the earth. I'm fine with that.
And of course, emergency officials are warning drivers trying not to go through any of that ponded water or high water levels. In fact, it might not be a bad night just to pop in a movie, maybe make some hot chocolate. Working for you in Harrisburg, Stephen Fisher, ABC 27 News.
That sounds
We don't
pretty
get
good.
to do that right now, do we?
Neither does Stephen. Hey, thank you, Stephen. All right, because of the rain, the games for Friday Night Football, a lot of them are getting canceled.
Yeah, quite a few have been canceled, but not all of them. Josh Reed joins us live with more. Josh.
That's right. Not all the games have been canceled. We're at Landis Field getting ready for the Central Dauphin Harrisburg game. That's going to be a huge game coming up later tonight. And the raindrops, they've really slowed down. I had a rain jacket on a little bit ago, but it got really kind of hot, so I decided to shed that and just go with the umbrella at this time. The weather actually seems like it's not going to play a huge factor because they have turf here. Now, ABC 27's got you covered with the entire list of the cancellations. Just go to our website, abc27.com. Now, there are a ton of cancellations, including all of the York Adams League. You can see all the cancellation, makeup dates, and times on our website. Once again, that's abc27.com. Like I said, there are some games going on still, despite the rain. Highlights and scores from those matchups tonight at 11:30 on Friday Night Football. All right, guys, the rain continues to come down. Like I said, it should be a good one here tonight at Landis Field. Harrisburg and Central Dauphin. We'll hear from both head coaches coming up at 6 o'clock. Back to you.
And there's always the press box for you, right?
That's exactly right. I can stay dry up in the press box. That's a little secret, though.
The poor photojournalist, not anymore. Thanks, Josh. Well, some parts of the mid-state were spared the worst.
But that doesn't mean they weren't preparing or keeping an eye on the rising waters. Coming up in our next half hour, we're going to look at the conditions in Cumberland County.